promising he seemed to be, he, or if it had been Mrs. Clinton or if it had been John McCain, would have been caught in a set of relationships in which they have evidently not much room. Of course, we had hoped that Mr. Obama, in his choice of financial advisors, would have brought in really fresh faces, people with fresh ideas, but it looks like he is going to continue the policies laid down in the Clinton administration, policies which I feel, and I think a number of other economists and so on would share that feeling, are the same people who created the conditions that now have led to a major world financial crisis. So that is what I am disappointed about. And this question of foreign aid, well, yes, that would be part of a much larger set of disappointments.
You don't like his the economic team that he has presented yesterday, or the
well,
other day?
As one economist on the internet said, to bring in Lawrence Summers, who was the former Secretary of the Minister of Finance, and he's now being brought in as Chief Economic Advisor. That is like bringing in Osama bin Laden to advise you on your terrorism policy. In other words, he is an economist who believes very strongly in almost unregulated economies regulated in such a way that they create great instability. Of course, that's not what he says he wants, but I'm sorry, his policies, Mr. Summers, have led to a situation where banks are taking enormous risks with other people's money. And now many millions of people are going to lose their jobs, their homes, and not only in the United States. Let us hope that Europe will not suffer the same degree. But look, the Spanish financial authorities took a very firm line, a line that Mr. Summers and others like him did not like. But that firm line here in Spain has been a barrier and a protection against all of this risk-taking with money and banks and exotic banking products. And that is why the Spanish economy has been, up to now, much better protected than other economies, because there was a firm line in regulating financial activities. And I think other countries have a lot to learn from the Spanish model.
How do you think this all economic disaster will end?
That is the
nobody knows.
But I think in the coming years, the big question will be how to maintain sufficient economic demand, that is spending power by the mass of people, so that an economy can maintain a certain balance, so that the loss of employment can be kept to a minimum. I think that's the crucial question. Maintaining economic spending power of the mass of people, not the rich, because they have lots of spending power, and therefore keeping jobs, and therefore keeping a certain social stability. Now, if that spending power continues to drop, we could have very, well, country by country it's different, but there could be instability, and I think that's a major worry. How it will end, well, I think where we have to all put our minds together is how to, in a sense, apply the same things that we were talking about a minute ago about poor countries. Well, the same things here. Transparency, bringing to the surface things that are hidden, making them democratic, allowing people to see and to have a voice.
And how do you think this will affect these poor countries?
Well,
they will be affected or not? They are so poor that they can go worst?
First of all, from what I understand, and I'm not entirely sure about these things, Latin America and Africa have largely been outside all of this financial speculation. The impacts on them will come more through the declining prices paid to the goods that they export. And that, well, for example, the country of Angola, that's already clear, the drop of the price of petroleum, that is going to affect them, but not very much because that money is not really being used for developmental purposes. But I think in countries like South Africa and Brazil, one could see effects going through the international trade circuit. Whether they will be really hard hit, I don't know. I think in terms of relative, as you were saying, the relative impact, negative impact, will be smaller than in the case of the United States, where the jump or the level of development is higher, the fall is relatively greater.
I have just read an article from Jeremy Rifkin saying that perhaps we have to change our way of life. We don't have to buy so much things, and we have to profit our spare time. Do you think we have to change our way of life or something like that? Or this disaster, economic disaster, will change our lives?
No.
Our conception?
I don't. I mean, look, we've had a whole series of there have been financial crises in the past. This one is quite a serious one. I think it could have, this crisis put together with the other, and in many respects much more serious and bigger crisis of the warming of the earth because of gases, that the two of those things together will reinforce a public discussion about, indeed, the way we live and the way we consume. It could also have, but we're not seeing any signs of that yet, a certain rise in prices, but and that would force people to well, not take a holiday, flying holiday to Thailand, which is a very polluting, it has an effect on the atmosphere. It's going to be a question of putting before us the future of life of future generations. And I think that discussion has to take place. But that this crisis will actually fundamentally change our style of life, no. In fact, I'm worried that it may lead to other kinds of social problems in which unemployment will become a cause of social insecurity, and a response that's more a police response than a social and democratic response to the long-term questions facing us.